Okay, should be there. There we are. With the link. Let me just quickly post that on the Discord so that everybody knows that I'm live. Is that okay? Yes, okay, there we are. Hello. Hello everybody. As you can see, I'm sweating a little bit, and that's because it's warm. There's nothing that I can do about that. I'll see how long I'll be able to stream today. It's very warm in the apartment and nothing really helps. I have a fan, but obviously I turn that off when I'm doing any form of content creation because for obvious reasons I don't want the fan blowing here while I'm recording stuff. I just don't want to deal with all of that noise. So what we're going to do today is make some different hi-hats and other samples for my drum pack. See, my drum pack is basically finished in terms of the kicks, right? All of these folders have been filled in with kicks that I made for these specific BPMs, and all of them have the same 69 kicks rendered specifically for that BPM in there. So now I just need to make the rest of the stuff, like I'm working on a few hats. These are the second one is actually this one here. You can see it's the same waveform. I've made 2 hats. I've made a couple of snares here. Not really sure if these are going to be all of the snares or if I'm going to include more of them. These are kind of like the distorted dubsteppy snares that you would turn into sidetrance snares. So they keep their fundamental, which I like because they kind of maintain versatility in the sense that if you listen to another sample pack, one that I'm taking a lot of inspiration from while making my own actually, you get these kind of snares, which is just kind of like the noise component of it, and that's where what like sidetrance snares are, how they are used. But what I don't like is sometimes, okay, you need a snare in a build-up or any other place that's not like a traditional spot for a sidetrance snare. So in those cases, it's really hard to fit these snares in there because, as I said, they don't have a fundamental. It's just the noise component. So those really don't work well for build-ups and fills and stuff like that. So I want my snares to be able to do that. So I'm leaving the fundamental in. There seems to be a few issues with these though. Maybe I have to re-render some of them. Like at the end there. Do you hear that? Yeah, there's that strange kind of sound in there. That's something that I need to fix. I am going to cut out these snares anyway. So these are not... Oh. I just threw away one of my snares. I'll have to check after stream where that went. But one of the snares is definitely missing, right? Didn't I just drag one away? I thought that I saw that. There's a missing number here somewhere. 9, 8, 6, 5. Where's snare number 5? Maybe it's in one of the folders. If it's not in the folders, it's not in here. There we are. Okay, let's drag that in here. Sorry, because otherwise I'm going to forget. Now obviously I can find it again, but now there it is. Okay, sorry. Pre-ringing from the next snare. Yes, there's probably some ways that when I recorded, maybe I've recorded a few times or something like that. I don't think that there's necessarily pre-ringing on it, but there's some other artifact on it. Because I no longer have the patch, and I no longer have the project in which I made them, because it's this project, and I just transformed the patch into the hi-hat patch. But there wasn't any linear phase stuff that I'm doing. Did you cut it out of a snare loop? No. I synthesized it. I'm synthesizing everything. there's a lot of packs, and I don't want to point fingers or blame names or whatever. I don't know who it does, but I can go into any of these sample packs, and especially for the hi-hats, probably find 2 hi-hats from 2 different packs that sound basically identical. We can test that here. Okay, so these are more like real acoustic stuff then. But yeah, this is just an 808 hi-hat, right? And he may have made that 808 hi-hat, but it's the same as every other 808 hi-hat. And maybe I can find... Yeah, so this is like a... almost like a classical ride, almost, I would say. A lot of samples have this kind of sound to it. I think most people are familiar with this hi-hat type. This kind of sound. It's a very specific texture that you can immediately hear is coming from like being cut out of a loop or something like that. I don't want to do any of that. I want to synthesize everything for this pack. Every single sound, I'll be synthesizing it from scratch so that it works with the pack. That's the point. Yeah, no, it's as I said, straight from synthesis. Homegrown symbols is what we're going to be making today. So the way that I've been doing this is just kind of like drawing in the dynamics that I want. Then I want to, this doesn't matter, I want to set this. This is kind of like your pluckiness. If you open it up, gives it more texture, I guess. I'm using just like a flanger filter to put in some nice sound towards the high frequencies. You can just kind of tune that wherever you want it to be. And I have some effects in here as well. These are set up like this. Again, I can change them over time if I want to. This one also, I want reverb a little bit later maybe. And then here we have whatever we want. We just take the sound how we want it. I should turn these lower so that they don't become a problem when you're switching tracks. The way that I'm going to do this, by the way, is I'm recording now just like a whole length part. I want these to be BPM independent. I don't want these to be this long, for example. So this works for 140 BPM, and you would be able to like easily duplicate it over if you wanted to. That's a nice feature to have, especially for the kicks, which are BPM dependent anyway. So my kicks actually have that, right? Where if you put in a 140 BPM kick sample, it's exactly the length of a beat, so you can easily duplicate it over. I don't want that for any of the other sounds. So I'm working, actually Bo wrote me a small program in Python, and I need to install that, figure out how it works, launch it myself probably with the Python scripts and stuff like that. All stuff that I've done before, but I need to check how it's like works and what kind of arguments it's going to accept and stuff like that. So the way that you make your samples, for those that don't know, is you always have to consolidate them. So what I'm saying is that, that script will take care of all of the silence at the end, and we'll just remove it and then put it back into a file with the same name, but with the silence removed. At least that's what I think it does. As I said, I have to look through it properly and before I can start using it. So that's why I'm consolidating everything so that it's 0 dB and it's like an actual sample file. And now what I can do is I still may have, that's the stream link, like this. Okay, then I can just call this number 3 and drag it in there. There's no way to easily create samples from Ableton. That's one of the things I would want for Ableton to add, is the ability to like hold shift and just drag it into wherever you want the sample to be, and that will just become a sample. Okay, like that. So this is a little bit more of an open sounding sound. Maybe towards the end of the stream, I'll show you how easy it will be once we have a bunch of samples for everything to actually turn this into maybe drums or something like that. That should be cool. Starting the track out with these sounds maybe would be cool. I actually want to keep this kind of open because it's nicer to edit like that. Okay, so this is going to go for different tone as well, different texture. Maybe I can use a comb plus here instead. Is that how it works? That's cool. What I want to emulate is also a few of the... I didn't turn on my live enhancement suite. There we are. What I want to emulate is some of the spikes that you often see in the frequency spectrum for a lot of these sounds. Because now our frequency spectrum is just noise, right? You want to change that by maybe introducing a couple of spikes in the spectrum. I'm just basically doing this randomly and just seeing if we get a good texture out of it or not. I guess we can start with like 3 spikes. The other spikes that are introduced are obviously from the thing that we're using here. You can basically set more or less with this, so that's nice. And now we end up with another hat. This one has a little bit more character to it. I don't like that it has the same envelope, so I'm going to actually change the envelope a bit. Is this the right one? No, number 2. Yeah. That's nice. Post hat number 5. There we are. Hello MindB, welcome to the stream. As you can see from the title, today I plan on just doing this and maybe chatting a bit. If you guys have any questions or stuff like that, anything that's maybe distracting, feel free to tell it anyway, because this is kind of boring work. It just has to be done, and I just need to have a motivation to do it, right? I need to make a whole bunch of claps, I need to make a whole bunch of hi-hats, I need to make more hi-hats for this folder, a bunch of different crashes, which I have no idea how they work, a bunch of different rides, which I have no idea how they work, a bunch of different toms that I have no idea how it's going to work, and then percussions, I have no idea how to synthesize percussions. This whole patch came kind of about from the snare thing, and I just adapted it for what I thought would be good hats. I hope they sound good. They do to me, and this would be useful. But maybe not to everybody, right? Okay, so what would be cool is if there was a shift parameter on this, which there isn't. So what I want to do is I want to transfer this EQing duty to equalizer. The reason for that is because of this shift thing here, which is really nice because you can see it shifts the curve, but it does that for all points equally. But if I set up some kind of texture that I like, and I want to use that texture again on a different hi-hat, but not exactly at the same tone, I can just shift it. Also, these Q factors can go a little bit steeper if we wanted to. The other one was like, maybe like this. This is really a lot steeper. Okay, and we'll do the final one here. Kind of like that. I do have 2 fewer points that I can do this with, but still. Okay, so there's a start. Let's saturate this and lower its output. Okay. I'm making some of these hats, as you can see, these hats like this are fairly, like if you put this in the sidetones baseline, I guess these are fairly open. Again, this is by design so that you can kind of choose the own dynamic that you want. So if you feel like fade this, you get more like a closed version of it. And then obviously you can fade it however strongly you want it to if you want really spicy hats. You can make percussions with Car Plus Strong method. Yeah, that's true. Ideally, I would like to keep it simple. I know that there's something in here called collision, which should be used for that kind of synthesis. For those that don't know, the way that this works is that it's an emulation of material hitting other material. So you choose what kind of starting point you have, I guess, and what kind of exciter you have, which I guess is done here. Oh, you have 2 resonators. Yeah, so it's the first resonator. This is your starting material that it tries to emulate. And the way that this works is all throughout delays and comb filters. By the way, this is 100% done with delaying and comb filtering. So this just gives kind of like a percussive sound to it. Do you also like experimental dark ambient IDM music? Well, that's quite a mouthful. That's not the kind of music that I make. It's also not something that I've specifically heard in terms of like that term. This kind of percussion works well for big delay for one with one shot. Yeah, I don't necessarily want all of them to be for that. So I have to check this out. Can you do a sample of lead or grid line? Just one example. I'm not going to make a sample for that. When it comes to making leads and grids, like there's so much stuff that you can do in terms of sound design. You can do all kinds of FM or other crazy setups, right? RM, AM, you can do crazy filter modulation if you want to. Or you can just download my tones pack and just... Oh, this would have been a lot better effect if I executed this properly. But still, you can just download somebody's tones pack or a wavetail pack and just... just use that, right? It depends on what you want to do in terms of like what you want your lead line to look like or to sound like. Right, I can go over all types of sound design for you, but if you have no idea what you want, then me giving examples for that doesn't really make a difference. You have to teach yourself how sound design works if you want to be able to sound design your own stuff. It's the same as mixing. If you want to mix your stuff, you have to learn how to mix, right? And you apply that same technique. The way that you learn mixing is through doing it many, many times. I suppose. I'm just assuming that everybody knows mixing at this point. Nice, bro. You're welcome. Apparently that was enough. Okay. I like this. This is really starting to sound like a hi-hat to me. Like not something that I'm synthesizing here, but like an actual hat. Something that's sampled somewhere, maybe. I guess this has a little bit too much. Another cool thing we can do, by the way, if we think that this harmonic stuff or the resonant stuff that I'm adding is a bit too much, we just try wet lower and get something like that. Perfect. Okay, so let's see what happens if I just combine these two. Do I get that weird audio stuff at the end there then? I know, because... Sorry for that. Obviously, with 24 dB of gain added, it's going to be loud. Either way, it's not there. I don't know why it was there on that other sample. But doesn't seem to be like a standard export thing. It just seems to kind of have happened with the way that I exported these snares. Maybe one of the things that I did was forget to cut them out or like consolidate them before I save them, and then it's just the recording that you have. Do you sometimes bake some convolution reverb in your samples? It's not a convolution. At least there's no convolution on here. I'm just using the normal reverb. This serum one here. And I'm doing it in a way that I can modulate exactly where I want it to be relative to the sample that I'm creating. Right, which is this thing here. So currently this reverb is set up just to come in a little bit late. I like doing that, but cutting off the tails. Yeah, I want to leave this sample pack as open-ended as possible. If you want to cut off the tails from your open hats or your closed hats or whatever, with this sample pack you're able to do that, right? Which is the whole point of a sample pack, is to be versatile. So maybe I'll have some with a little bit more reverb, but some with a little bit less. I also use the dimension expander for the same kind of like stereonizing effect, which is essentially what it's doing. Number 7. I wish Serum had a convolution up reverb. Do you? It's, to be honest, when it comes to convolution reverb, I never really use them like properly, as in to emulate a room. In the sense that, let's see. The Pro is the one that you use, right? Here in Ableton. Yeah. So I use it like this sometimes with the real places, and then it's either the I chapel or just the basic one that it opens up with. This is sometimes a reverb that I like to put on my sounds. But I don't like convolution reverb in general because it doesn't leave me with the most amount of room to like edit the reverb to my liking, right? Because you're your liking is just, okay, how long do you want this reverb to be and how big do you want the room to sound? And it's just going to generate the same tone based on that. Whereas with something like M Turbo Reverb, I can go in there and I can say exactly what kind of a space do I want to emulate, right? These are different spaces. And I guess that's true to a certain extent for the convolution reverb as well, in that you have obviously choices of what you want, but I don't really know what these sound like, whereas I've learned the algorithms of the turbo reverb. So this is my go-to reverb. I like to use random IRs for sound design. There are some cool tricks that you can do for sound design with convolution in general. Not just the fact that it's reverb, but overall convolution is a like a mathematical way of combining two signals together, because that's really what's happening with a convolution reverb. It's just like summing the two waves together as they're happening. As like a windowing technique for it. I don't remember exactly, but it's not important. This is a bit more of a sustained one. I can remove all of these that don't really matter, right? Like this, what does this do? This does nothing. This is for, okay, so those two are important. These are the effects, and this is the volume, and this is like its texture, I guess. Okay, combine that with a shift here. So we get a nice sound, then EQ out that bit a little bit. And now we have a nice other hi-hat. And cabinet is really good, I agree. Any stuff from the Melda plugin suite is probably going to be really good. Specifically, I haven't used M Cabinet that much, as I'm not a... I don't even know where it is. Is it in Tools? No. Why don't I have M Cabinet? I should have it. This is the whole bundle. Oh, here. It's in the filter. Ah, yeah, of course, because it doesn't emulate the distortion. It just emulates the frequency impulse of all of these cabinets that you have. What's this? Yeah, I think these are based off like known cabinets, but they cannot use the name of them. So all of these are like non-branded versions of very easy to recognize cabinets, and every guitar artist that knows cabinets like this will probably tell me exactly which ones are the best and which ones sound the nicest on what type of sound. But I'm not somebody that really cares about guitar. Obviously, being a sidelines producer, we don't get to work with guitar a lot. And overall, if I were to do some guitar stuff, I would probably just saturate it, to be honest, to get the tones that I want. And then EQ it manually if needed. I know that there's like a lot of hype about which cabinet is the best, and I always look at that in the same way that I look at people debating which like transparent EQ is all the best, right? In the sense that as long as it doesn't make an obvious mistake in its implementation, so for example, EQ8 in oversampling mode does not crank here at the higher frequencies, right? Which it should do if I turn off oversampling. I think this is best explained with a bell, a normal bell, right? Because that would cramp here. It does not cramp here in this case. If I turn off the oversampling, it will cramp. You can see it's always going to 0 here. So that's like an obvious mistake in an EQ. if your EQ that you're using does not have any of those like obvious mistakes in there, it doesn't matter which EQ you use, right? So for me, the difference between EQ8 and M equalizer is in this case just the fact that I have this shift feature. But in other cases, when I'm in Reaper, I just use this EQ because it's the easiest, the quickest to open up, and it's nice and fast to work in. I don't care about its sound because it's all going to implement the same filter mechanics, the same filter algorithms to create like the underlying math that is needed to take your signal into the EQ'd signal. Don't you make your sample in context? Never. Nope. I want to hear what the sound sounds like, not what it could potentially sound like. Right? The point of making a sample pack, and I do this for my kicks as well, the point of me making my kicks outside of the project is that I'm not bound with the project. So I can make stuff like this where I just have a pack of kicks, and in this case I say, oh, I want to write in 151 BPM and I want to write in G sharp. I could just go, is that the kick that I want? No, not really. Nah. Okay, no, that's starting to be more like it. That's a little bit too punchy. I go back to this one. This will be my choice, right? And that takes me, I don't know, 10, 15 seconds. That's the point of a sample pack, is to not have to worry about making a sound in context. And if I were to make it in context, and that's the reason why I'm not doing that, is if I were to make now a sample in context, the sample would hint at the context in which it's best used, right? Because it's made for a certain type of context. Like if I EQ this sample that I have here to work with a particular mix, and I say, oh, these are mix ready samples, which I'm not going to say. Right, it's a common marketing trick. It's a mix ready sample. Yeah, but the sample is going to hint at a certain mix. It's not going to fit in particular mixes, and it is going to fit in other mixes, right? And that's not what I want this pack to be. I'm just making the sound how I want them to sound on their own. Maybe I do like that lack of sustain here. Kind of like that with just the reverb on there. I'm gonna do another one like this, but with the EQ changed so that it's resonating a lot higher. I use guitar amps and cabinets on all types of sound, definitely not just guitars. Okay. Yeah, it depends on what you're after. To me, it seems to be an overly complicated way of doing a little bit of EQing. Because that's really what it is. It's not the cabinets, specifically in M cabinets, I don't think will emulate. Obviously, there's going to be like some distortion in here, in there. But I think that there's probably a better way of achieving any form of distortion that you want for the types of sound that I usually put distortion on. What about live? Live is good. Nothing more to say. Okay, number 10. I don't think I give a lot of like live updates when I'm streaming or chatting or even when I'm making videos. And I kind of like that, having your own privacy, right? Choosing what you share and don't share with the world. Especially these generic questions, because it's not like my life is very exciting outside of what I do here in terms of like music and stuff like that. I just do what I need to do and try to get on with my life and make as much music as possible. So I don't talk a lot about life, but maybe I should. Maybe I should consider myself a little bit more of like a personality, right? Because at the end of the day, part of the reason why you guys are watching my videos is not just to learn things or stuff like that, but hopefully also to be slightly entertained. And I know slightly is maybe a little bit of a strange word to use there, but I use it anyway because I know that in its primary state, my videos are not entertaining, right? They're maybe entertaining because you follow me and stuff like that, and maybe some community joke that I make is a little bit more funny, right? But I'm not the kind of person that just uses comedy in their videos or stuff like that, and I think a lot of people would appreciate it if I kept it serious. But I sometimes do wonder, like if I just started vlogging, right, my life, say something interesting which is about to happen. I'm going to Burning Mountain at the end of this month, by the way. I'm going to Burning Mountain, which is a 4-day festival in Switzerland. What if I just take my camera and vlog it, right? Just record a bunch of stuff while I'm there, 15 minutes, and then just post that and see what happens. Maybe some people actually like it, because it's sometimes annoying being stuck behind the kind of layer that you present yourself in to remain like professional. It would be fun to watch. Yeah, as I can see, a lot of people are interested in that, so I can actually try that. Actually, before I just gonna move your camera slightly to the right. I hope that, yes. It's now perfectly so that the corner of my desk is showing, I think. Or is that the, what is that? Ah no, it's still the cloth, but sometimes I angle my camera perfectly so that the corner of my desk here is showing, which is now right off the screen. And I wanted to move my camera a little bit to the right because it's right over my record button. I have one of those fancy screens with very small bezels, right? So there's not a lot of space between where the webcam sits and where the screen begins. So it actually overlaps part of the screen right now currently here, but these are buttons that I never use, so I don't care about that. But it is annoying that you can have these parts of the screen basically covered up, and it was on the record button before. That's why I sometimes actually struggle to click it. So that's why I moved it. I see the debate on the cabinet still continues. Use IRs and it's not just an EQ. Okay, so with an IR, which kind of effects are you able to emulate? Poor question. You're able to emulate all linear effects. Any non-linearity cannot be modeled with an IR, right? So whether you're using an IR or not, you have to model the distortion part separate from the EQ part, because that's what a cabinet is. I see that I'm a little bit high latency, so I already answered the question, but the correct answer is any effect that is linear, that does not have any non-linearities in them. So, as I said, to emulate a cabinet, you need to emulate two things. You need to emulate its distortion, which cannot be done with an IR, and you need to emulate its equalization component. Obviously, what you could also emulate is the cabinet existing in a room, so you will be able to. Some cabinet emulators have like different microphones and microphone techniques that you can use. There's a real modeling going on of like a physical space. But if you're just doing the cabinet part and you're assuming like perfect recording with no reflections and stuff like that, which is what this suggests to me, I don't see how this is any different from an EQ with a distortion after it, right? From my standpoint. Now, from a guitarist point of view, I will completely understand why they would choose a plugin like this over your standard EQ and then a saturation unit. But for me, somebody who's never worked with a guitar, who does not know anything about these controls and standards and whatever you want from your guitar amp, I have less idea of how to use this than I have of using this. If I want to EQ a certain part, then this is a better way for me to do it, and that's why I don't use cabinets. Maybe I should have been more, like in my first time that I talked about the cabinets, I should have been more precise in the fact that from my personal experience. I'm not talking about like cabinets in general, because everything I do is obviously based on my personal experience. I cannot just say that the cabinet is good because I've never used it. Simply put, for instance, M cabinet cannot be done with just an EQ, which is not what I've been saying. Now you're putting words in my mouth that I've never said. I said specifically that if I were to use a cabinet, I would probably use it for the two functions, which is EQing and distortion. Both of those I can do better with other tools. That's basically my statement on it. That's why I don't use cabinets. Yeah, I never said that everything you do with a cabinet can just be done with an EQ. That's bullshit. That's obviously not the case. I actually continuously go into the menu thinking that it's there, but it's never going to be there. Right? There's going to be here. You can see there's this pitch thing. You cannot pitch shift with an EQ, but that's never what I was saying. If I were to use this cabinet, I would definitely not use it for pitch shifter. Or its pitch shifter, right? I would go for the tone and the gain, the distortion. These two, you can perfectly do any form of distortion and any form of EQing if you know what you're doing. And maybe with like the two knobs that you have at your disposal here, you get a very nice result very quickly. But I don't like this workflow with the cabinet. I've tried sometimes using a cabinet just like as a sound design tool, and it's never really stuck on me like an intuitive way to process audio. This is not number 13, this is number 12. Just as a quick test, I want to check how we could turn this into an open hat. And I think the easiest way to do that is just to go something like this. Okay. Honestly, part of the reason why I don't like to use a cabinet is because I never use a cabinet, right? There's kind of, I would say, and I think most producers have this, a limit of amount of tools and plugins that you want to be able to fully use. Like for example, right now, as I've shown in the recent video, but also just talked about this, I'm exploring a lot of the different reverbs here within M Turbo Reverb. I think I would be a lot less creative if I told myself, okay, I need to learn M Turbo Reverb as well as the Convolution Pro, as well as all of the presets that are in this reverb, right? All of this stuff, all three different categories, and another 5 of the reverbs that I have on this list. If I had to learn all of them, and I was forcing myself to use all of them, I think overall the quality of the music that I would be writing would go down. There's tons of stuff that I never use but now use religiously. Yeah, those things kind of shift over time as well. You have different interests at different points in your career, right? I'm kind of stuck, I would say, in terms of like my main synth being Serum. I love Serum. I love what it's capable of, but sometimes it does feel like I'm consistently making the same sounds over and over again. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if I will get to a point where everybody is just like tired of my music because I'm constantly using the same sounds, but we'll see, I guess. Well, to be fair, it's not like people are tired of my music now. It's mainly people haven't started listening to it, actually. Guess that's a problem that everybody has, right? Okay, there we are. By the way, I wanted to test something. I want to see how significant that lower click there is. I think I know why that's happening, that click, that's all of that lower rumble. Yeah. Giving it some attack should fix that. That was something that I was looking for. Like, why is this click here? But it's obviously there so that it immediately goes up in volume and we get the sharpest transient. And even still, it's not actually doing that. You can see it takes some time for it to go up. And you're literally closer to Ron than I am. That's true, that last one is true. I use Vital and Faceplant and switch between them from time to time. I always get refreshed mental states when I switch. Yeah, I should probably force myself to use Vital maybe double the amount that I do now. Like, I will open Vital once per project. And I have a specific goal in mind of what I want Vital to do that Serum cannot do. But I don't know, for all sound design purposes, Serum just is faster than Vital. And I don't know why. Because if you really think about what Vital is, it's just Serum with the oscillators and all of the modulation and like the filters laid out slightly differently. Right? And you get an extra oscillator. And you see a few of these as well. Some more stuff in terms of like the randomness that you can do. The random stuff is not like this strange chaos oscillator. But when it comes to the overall like design of it, it has the same modulation like drag and drop system. It has the same limited amount of oscillators go into limited amount of filters in both cases, 2 if you count this. So really, all of the information should translate very nicely between the two synths, right? But still, I just prefer Serum for some reason. And I don't really know why. Okay, we're going to change the tone again by going down. Am I listening to the sample? Yes. Wait. Did I mess something up? Ah, yes, of course. The filter. This is almost to the point where it becomes an open hat. Actually, I want to go back into this specific sample and I want to shorten it a bit. Kind of has the same shape, but just shorter. So that it's a little bit clickier at the start and you actually have some space for some of the dynamics of the file, right? Prefer Serum's filters. What is the goal with Vital? I mean, it's based around its spectral engine, right? That's the one thing that it has on top of Serum, which is like its massive selling point, is just that it has all of those spectral tools that you can use. That's something Serum just does not have, any spectral capabilities. I just wish Serum would add more oscillators and options to have several instances of effects. One of the things that I've learned from working with Faceplant a lot is that that's not necessarily what you want from your sound design. It doesn't mean that it's not always the case that you don't need like 7 oscillators, but I found that I've never really made a great sound if I go into Faceplant and I start loading this up with 7 oscillators, 3 different filters, a bunch of different like distortions and weird routing, weird FM, then using all 3 lanes of the effects to their maximum level, using 8 billion modulators. All of that stuff never really helps me to make better sounds at the end of the day, and that's what's important, I think, when doing sound design. It doesn't really matter about like, okay, I have 2 oscillators and that's what I have to deal with them. There's loads of sounds that I create that only use one of the 2 oscillators, right? Yeah, but there's the reason why I'm bringing it up like this is because there's a perfectly good option if you have Faceplant to actually have that, right? To have the Serum that you want, because I mean, as far as Serum goes, you can basically build Serum in Vital. You just go like that, and then this is going to be your envelope 1. You'll have your like filter here, which if you need special filter types, you can use some of these, and then you can add whatever effects that you want. Right, the filter is, I will give you that, this is a lot less capable as the filter from Serum. But sometimes it's nice not to be limited. In those cases, yeah, in those cases what I would say is that I would use like Faceplant for that. What I would not want is, and the reason why I say this is because there's talks about Serum actually becoming this, right? Serum 2.0 is being talked about. I would not want Serum to become the same modular system. I like the fact that as a default synth, this is really limiting you to just 2 oscillators. Because it enforces the idea that you don't have to always use them. All of them. That's kind of what I mean. Yeah, and if you want more effects, you can use Serum effects. You can there's even like technical ways that you can have 4-way FM setup, right? In the sense that you use one FM from the sub onto FM from B onto FM from A, and then you can use one of these, set it to untyped BPM mode, and link that to master tuning. You can FM your whole patch basically with this, right? I'm not going to need that, so I'm going to set it back and clean it up. We want some really sharp ones as well, right? These are going to be more like the layers that I'm planning for the kick. But I guess I can have a few of these like snappy high-end or hi-hats, sorry. How many closed hats do you think I would need for a pack like this? I was personally thinking 30-ish. Like I'm going 36 with the snare. I'm probably going to make like 30 more snares than this. Right? This is supposed to be a big pack. So the kicks, to give you an idea, the kick is the most important element. I have 69. Nice. But one of these kicks is basically 6 kicks because I had to make it 6 times, essentially. I did some trickery, which I will not go into on how I actually did it, but I basically was able to make the kick at 143 BPM and then render it out specifically for all of the different BPMs so that it still works on that BPM. And it has the same kind of like tonality. It's actually essentially the same kick for different BPMs. Just the way that I'm like generating it and rendering it. Actually want to change the tonality of this one to be like really high. Yeah. It's nice. This is 17. I should probably make all of them first and then drop them in one by one. That's how I did it for the snares actually. Because I needed to find the key before I put them in there. And I was just kind of like making them without knowing the key. So I made all of them, then found the key for all of them, and then actually went back and named all of them according to that key. This is where we get to the territory of the sample just being kind of click that you hear in like some asterisk hats. Don't know if you guys know, but he basically does, I guess, something like this then. It's shorter, but it's more resonant as well. I don't know how he does it. Maybe I have the sample. Asterisk hat. Yeah, this. This is just the click. This isn't even noise, I think. But it's kind of getting to that point. Guess we can. If we really wanted to, we go like this. I guess this would be the shortest kind of sound that we would go for. I think what's happening is that this is actual like model synthesis that we talked about before. Sounds like comb filter to me on a click. And the reason why I say that is because of the like distance between the resonances, I guess. I guess these are pretty similar. Maybe that's what I heard. But this is, yeah. It does have like the click property. Do you see how it has like a flat line here? That's always an indication of like an impulse, usually. You would be able to see if there's an impulse kind of click in there. Guess this could be it. I don't know. It's not that I care too much. I'm making my own samples at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter. I can actually move some of these higher if I wanted to. We get a similar kind of sound from it. I'm just going to do one like that. A bit too open. Did I end up dragging it in there? Okay, so this is 18, and then we have number 19 here, right? 19, yes. I guess you can kind of hear that these are similar. I mean, I all know that they're all made with a similar idea. I think 19 is a good amount, actually. I can do some open hi-hats as well. Okay. Ooh. That's the annoying part of moving. If you click too fast, I cannot get it to work here, but if you click this like open, maybe if you don't have the track selected and then go here, I cannot make it work, but sometimes it just acts like I grab it and move it because of the way that it closes up, I guess. I guess it has to do that maybe if I'm... Yeah, do you see how it moves it? I just clicked once. It has to do with the fact that you're like scrolling down, I guess, and then when this goes down, it has too much space in here. Right, so if I were to open these up, now it wouldn't matter. Yes. Yeah, now it doesn't matter, but if it has too much space, you see it like automatically goes down, right? But if you open this up, you can still scroll down. And then if you click it, tries to compensate for that, so you just move stuff. I wish Ableton would not do that, because that's annoying. Like, just let me able to scroll down here. There's no reason why, because that's what's causing the problem. Not the fact that it's moving, it's the fact that in certain cases you can scroll down lower than in other cases. This changes the amount that you can scroll and it automatically tries to reset for you. I would love to be able to turn that off. I have like a list of things that I'm eventually going to turn into a video of, like, if Ableton ever gets a version 12, then I would like to see these things. And then it's going to be my demand list, all of the things that I want Ableton to fix. Okay, so for an open hat, we want this to be longer, right? I hate that, that's so mono. Why are you so mono? Wait. Ah, okay. You can barely hear this effect on the noise that we have here. Should probably make this lower as well. And maybe I need a few extra peaks, actually, thinking about it. There's usually like a very strong peak. Right, this is kind of like the normal texture that you would expect from a hi-hat. Oh, this needs to be a peak as well. Oh yeah, that's right, there's the shift thing. Hard to know what the dynamics should actually do here. I feel like that's not doing a lot to our sound. Probably. The first one is always the hardest one. Now I need to just check the waveform. Right? Yeah, that looks kind of like an open hat to me. In terms of dynamics. Like personally I would put probably some kind of EQ like this. To get like a nice airy high end from it. But I could see that not being the case and some people not liking that. The point is that these samples need to be versatile. That's the main goal, right? So this will be open hat 1. 2 spaces in between, that's what I want. Now we'll make some open hats. This is actually fun. I actually enjoy this kind of sound design because you're really trying to make a sound that you recognize, and that's really hard. And also, obviously, recognize and make it sound good. That's the hard part. I could sound design the piano if I wanted to, but it's not going to sound good. Do you know what I mean? I guess a little bit more dynamic version as well. I'm probably gonna go for shallower. Yeah, like that, and then Clicking it down like there. Mess that up. Need to record this. I guess that's good, no? Is it possible to copy noise oscillator to oscillator A to make it stereo? No. The noise oscillator is a sample-based oscillator. So this is a sample player. One of the things that it means is that it plays the sample in mono. So you cannot make it stereo. You cannot copy it over to these oscillator here because these aren't sample oscillators. These are wavetable oscillators. So it doesn't really work. It's trying to put like kerosene into a normal gas car. Kerosene is made for airplanes. The gas car obviously accepts gas, right? Or maybe electric, whatever you want. I don't know, I'm trying to make good sounding comparisons, but I don't know how well that comparison is. It's just a different technique that they're using for the oscillation. What we could maybe do is create a setup where this creates something very close to noise. We could, if I listen to it now, it should just be, there's no volume. This is obviously distorting in here. It's still distorting because it's going in there. Why does this have to... Wait. Why does this still have... Okay. Now we don't have anything. If we start to FM it, we get still nothing. Why? Okay, it's because it's too low, probably. There's probably a different form of FM that can eventually turn into noise, but I want to try it like a double setup. Oh, there you have it. Noise. I guess that's how you make noise. You just double FM something really, really hard with, I guess, like 3 sine waves. Well, one has extra harmonic stuff in it, so that might be a reason why. In fact, we can give it more harmonics. Makes it sound a little bit more aggressive. You get different tonal changes from the sound that you get. You can make them slightly more stereo this way. That's nice. I didn't see that video actually. You did send a video in the chat, but I didn't actually see it. To be honest, I don't always check the server as much as I should. At least in terms of like interaction maybe. Because a lot of people that ask for feedback, for example, they really expect me to do it. And sometimes I just can't be bothered, to be honest. Like, not because of anything specific about the person, but it's just like I'm not in the mood to listen to tracks that probably don't sound as good as some other tracks that I could be listening to. Right, I could just, if I wanted to listen to some actual sidetracks, I could maybe pull up an Asterix playlist. That's kind of the point of established artists, and why people don't listen to new and upcoming artists as much as they maybe should, because of that security of quality that you already have with an artist that you're already listening to. Like, I'm feeling in the mood for some music. Am I going to listen to some people that I don't know, or my favorite artist? And this is not to be like rude. I know that can be sound rude, but I think everybody has that, right? It's not that I specifically don't want to listen to the feedback music. It's that I want maybe to relax a little bit and something like that. And I don't want to have to worry about the music not being maybe the highest quality. Sometimes the quality is great, right? But sometimes it's just not there. Especially if I see people like, oh, I just started producing and this is just a snippet and I just need to know where I can work from here. If there's one thing that I don't like about people asking for feedback, is that they specifically ask for feedback on the small section that they're working on. And it's not a nice listen. You cannot really listen to just like a section like that, right? It's 14 seconds maybe, and then it's over. But B, the context is very important, and it does not provide any help for your next project. I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to you how you want to ask for feedback and stuff like that. But I would want to, if I were to ask feedback for something, usually, or at least that's what I would like to do. Maybe I'm not doing it all the time. But usually I would like to ask feedback for like the next project. What can I do better? This is a nice sound. Because the project that I'm currently working on is like already finished at that point. And then it improves my next projects a lot more than the one that I'm currently working on. I don't do it that way. I use a radio app which plays many also new artists. Ah, yeah, it depends, I guess. I have a like curated playlist from myself that I just put all of my favorite sidetracks in, and I listen to that a lot. I know a few other people who have those same playlists, and what I'll usually do is I'll steal from them. There are some of their tracks that I like. I add them to my playlist, and then I go back listening to mine. Is Asterix planned to release a new album? I hope so. It's been a while. Israeli music producer. Asterix. When is his last like full album? It cannot be He Art, right? Albums. Remixes. Life is a remix. 9 stories. If we don't consider remixes, which I don't consider as an actual like album. This is not an Asterix album to me. It's an album that other people made for Asterix, I guess, like the remixes, right? If you don't take those, then his last album was in 2016. And this is actually like a full-length album, isn't it? Is he just on this one track here? Then his last album was He Art. Like full album, full thing, full everything. All of his tracks has him on it, right? Some are collaborations, but some of these are just purely his tracks. This is his last album. And ever since then he's been doing singles and stuff like that. I guess it's the industry, 100%. Because this keeps you popular, right? If you push out a track every couple of months, it's gonna keep people thinking about you. So that's, I guess, the reason why albums no longer work. Like, I don't think anybody does like album after album after album anymore. What they do is they'll push out an album, and then they'll release the album as singles, and then turn it into an album. Right? So you essentially get 10 releases from it, And then the 11th release, where it's the release of the album, is just, hey guys, these singles that I've been putting out for the last 10 months, I don't know if you noticed, but they all sound the same. So I'm just going to put them together into one thing, if you don't mind, and we'll call that an album. That's currently like an album release nowadays. Especially if you're like focused hardcore on the streaming world. If you go outside of like psytrance, then it's more like that, I guess. Right? Especially if you look at something like pop or even like the more traditional EDM kind of stuff. Is singles better or EP or album? The best thing is to release something every month. And if you can release something that is an album worth of work every month, then obviously it's going to be better than a single every month. But a single is realistic and an album every month is not realistic. Alienetic album on Nano wasn't like that. Alienetic. Albums. They are... Okay. But this is a different artist then, right? Or is this one of his projects? See, I'm not familiar with all of his projects. Is a fast-rising psytrance producer from Holland. Okay, so it's not him. Definitely. You can add tracks that have been uploaded previously to a new album? Yes. It wasn't released as 10 singles. Yeah. No, so as I said, the most important thing nowadays in the music industry, if you want to make it as an artist, right? Which not everybody wants. But say that you wanted to make it big as an artist. First of all, check trends, right? If you want to make it big as an artist, you have to follow the trends. But secondly, when it comes to creating albums and stuff like that, what you essentially want to do is you want to continuously feed your fans a little bit about your life, right? You're no longer the kind of person that comes out with an album and is just going to blow up over the world. That's not going to happen because the music industry is just too big for that, right? It used to be the case that the Beatles put out an album, everybody was listening to the Beatles because there was nothing else to listen to. Everything else was recorded in somebody's garage and therefore sounded like trash. You had either that or the Beatles and a few other bands, right? Nowadays, every idiot like me can open up Ableton and start producing. So everybody is doing it. So you have what you essentially need to do if you want to be like part of the music industry by continuously like releasing your tracks is that you continuously need to be on people's minds, right? And the best way to do that is to put out singles because it's unrealistic to put out an album at the frequency that you keep being on people's minds. Well, not idiot. Well, I do sometimes still consider myself an idiot, and there's a good reason for that because I like to be. You know, it's not. I don't mean that like disrespectfully, but I do like to sometimes just be the person that is just messing around with their music and not taking it too seriously. At the end of the day, I would like to have a career in this field. I would like to be the guy that goes up on stage and make everybody dance and makes everybody happy. But I would also be happy if I'm just sitting here and I get to teach a bunch of people and just make my money that way. Right now it's not big enough to actually live from, but it's a nice income, not gonna lie. And it's the security that it allows me to continuously do this, right? I can come back here tomorrow, start my stream up, and I'll know that there's enough people here that is actually interesting enough to stream around, or something like that. Maybe today is not a good example. Today there's a lot of chatting, not so much doing. I'm not really producing, I'm just like making samples and such. But I personally still find that kind of stuff interesting. And if there's, I don't know, 10 people here that want to watch that, that's nice. Am I going? No. Why is it not this dynamic? Ah, it's because I'm an idiot. You see? I'm an idiot. I was editing the wrong modulation there. By the way, we're making noise with FM here. I don't know why we did that, but oh yeah, for stereo. There it is. A little bit more dynamics to it. Let's change the tone up. I'm gonna go like that, and then I'm going. Oop. Make this very bright here. It almost has like that really low metallic feeling to it. I like this sound. I think that's a good hat. Did I finish university? Not yet. Not yet. And to be honest, university, I'm not quite sure if I ever am going to finish it, because it's not exactly what I'm looking for. I know that I was like very excited going there, and I've been always talking well about it. But now that I've been here for like a year, I start to notice that what we actually do on university is not something that has a lot to do with like music. It's more about the techniques other people use to create music, and that's not what I want to do. I want to, be in the studio and actually work on some music. Hello, FG. Hi, Hermes. For those that know him from Discord. That's actually nice too. Not a private question maybe, but a friendly one. What were you studying in Hungary? So Hungary, that was for my bachelor. That's the university I already finished. I spent a year in Hungary doing my studies, but the university that I actually went to was the University of Urbino, which is a very small university. But it's like specialized in history and stuff like that. But I went there to the only technical faculty that they had, which was applied computer science. And everything was very enthusiastic. I don't want to badmouth them. There's an incredible faculty that we had. But also there, when it came to the advertisement, it was all about, we'll be building all of these cool tools. You'll get to program a lot more. You've already had one of the things that was really in my favor for choosing that university was the fact that I went to high school there. And the high school also already had like a technical background. So I went to like a technical programming high school, right? Started there when I was 15, moved here into Italy. And I did that for 4 years because the first year I failed. Obviously, being new to Italy, that's something that you expect to happen. Either way, I went into university and they were like, oh, this is going to be so nice. This is applied computer science. We're not like all of the other computer science courses that are out there in Italy. We actually apply a lot of the things that we do, right? So that's how I went out there. And then apart from the year in Budapest that I got to do, which was genuinely one of the coolest things that I did, only for it to get spoiled by COVID and me ending up somehow becoming like a part-time YouTuber, and now I have to sit at home and stream for a bunch of idiots all day. No, of course not. But yeah, I was there, but apart from like that year in Budapest, we never really did anything practical, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm also leaving or thinking about leaving the new university that I'm doing now, the master's degree in music engineering, is because we talk a lot about the theory and then we don't apply the theory. What are you doing making some hats? Yes, exactly. We're now in the open hi-hats category of this sample pack that I'm working on. Today I also want to do a bunch of claps. Maybe I want to do some rides. I just want to get a lot of progress done on all of these samples here. This all started, of course, with my kick experiment, which turned out really good. You can see all of these, the same kick all the time, but for different BPMs. So each is slightly different, and it's constructed exactly for the BPM that it's in, with a lot of like common BPMs in between. Let's do some squelches. No, this is purely going to be a drum pack. Unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, otherwise I would have to make too much stuff. Sometimes my stomach sounds like squelching. You should sample it. That's always a good idea. Actually, for this one, I want a different dynamics. Different, like this, more open. Hey. No, that's too much. Why does it go up again in volume there? Is it because... I don't know. I guess I could use a little bit of this on the drive. That will help with the volume thing, I guess. Yeah, that really makes it quieter. No, it was like going back up in volume towards this part here. Now I think it's a little bit too quiet at the end there. I do want... I know I'm a perfectionist, but that's the point of creating samples. You just have to do this once. Yeah. Now there we get the exact kind of tail that I'm after. Kind of this nice bright kind of overtaking open hat, right? The question is, what is the best way to place your mic to sample your stomach? Well, there's a few options. One of the things that you could do is you could realize that a squelch is often called a fart, and then I think you know where to place the mic once I tell you that information. The other thing that you could do is buy a contact mic. Like, this is an actual thing. Wait, what? It's because it names the audio track after the sample that's on there, and every time it adds a thing to it. Stop naming me, please. This will be 9. You could probably contact mic a pretty good squelch. Maybe while you're sleeping or something like that. But if you know the contact mics that I'm talking about, the ones that you can actually like put on your body and just hold in place with tape. Maybe bottom mic. That's an easy way to get it in there. You know what I mean. Okay, I like that. What I want to do is more like that, so that it has like a attack here and then sustain. I guess that works. Make sure to record enough velocity layers and round robins. Yes, exactly. I'm out of ideas for a good track. I am working on some inspiration ideas for me. I don't know. Yeah, some follow-up questions are on point here. One is a good idea to check if it's like for an album or something. Does the track have a theme? Because I remember from the feedback that I've often gave you that that's maybe sometimes something that you worry about, right? Or that you're struggling with is to give your track an identity or a main theme. And I think a lot of Psytrance producers struggle with that, so I'm not going to be too harsh on that. It's also something that is not really that common in most Psytrance, I would say. Like the Psytrance that I make is special in that it's really well themed, right? And if you look at my inspiration, like Asterix, Outsiders, I would say those are also tracks that tend to have a very strong theme. And then if you even go to someone like Burn in Noise, yeah, kind of, but it's more focused on the Psytrance elements than the theming elements at that point. You know what I mean? Maybe for your track, it would be cool if you're running out of ideas to really force yourself to just sit through it and try to work on something special like a theme like that. I don't know if that's what you want or not. This one can be a little bit less. Like this, maybe. Yes. You're not sure what you want. Yeah, that's kind of the diagnosis of not being inspired, right? More darker, crazy track, and I'm searching for some oriental sounds. I don't know. Do you have Contact? If you go to Piano Book, there's like an extreme amount of sample packs for all kinds of different samplers, even like different things, and you can organize them by the type of sound that you want. So maybe you want like a choir or string or any other sound, then you can get something here. You do need a sampler for it though, so decent sampler, which may be free. Otherwise there's Contact, and some of them work on Contact Player, but not all of them. It's nice, kind of dry-ish sounding one. Piano Book, yes, all of the stuff on Piano Book is free. It's just that you need like a sampler sometimes that isn't free that for it to work. Okay, maybe a controversial opinion, but you shouldn't produce with a reference track. You should only mix with it. either mix or exercise yourself with a reference track. Never use it just as like a production. Maybe you're not strictly copying it, but there's always this subconscious feeling of what you're doing with your track isn't what the track itself is doing. So maybe it can be a downside there. When it comes to structure, it's sometimes useful to have. But when I'm just like normally producing, I would never want a reference track next to that. I'm just scared that I would get actual like influenced from the reference track, and then I just end up writing the reference track basically, which is not what you want to do, right? You just want to be able to write your own stuff. Speaking about writing, what I am going to do is I'm going to take a quick break and provide you guys with some new entertainment in the form of some new songs that I've been working on. I say songs, but I just mean one, because it's going to be one break. This is very loud, as you can see from the waveform. I did a temporary master, but you can see I kind of like did it wrong. Here it's okay, this is okay-ish, but this is just way too loud. The vocal has some glitching in this version. I fixed it in the new version. So the new version does not have that kind of weird glitch in the vocal loop, which is, by the way, it's a loop that I made using some clever text-to-speech and vocoding and all that kind of stuff. You will hear it instantly. Either way, I'm going to take a break. Hey Klaus, nice to see you here. You're late. I'm almost 2 hours in. No worries though, don't take that as an insult, it's okay. Normally I always expect Klaus to be immediately there when I hit the start streaming button. It's a guarantee that if I hit start streaming, I'll notice either what I'll notice is the stream is planned before. I'll notice that my Logify has already posted first, like 2 hours before the stream even starts, because he's always the first, except for today apparently. Today he was fourth, but he likes to play that little game with me by every time writing first into the chat just consistently. And then usually Klaus is right next to that as the second person to join the chat and to wish me hello at the beginning of my stream. But today he just woke up, okay. Anyway, I'm going to be taking a quick break. When this song is finished, I'll be back, and then we'll get right back into making some samples. I think you guys can hear me coming back because it triggers the microphone filter. Like when the microphone picks up that I'm like moving back into my chair. I didn't bring a drink, but that's okay because I only have an hour left. I actually have something to do tonight, so we'll just do another hour-ish of streaming. And then I have to go. Ah, not even. 45 minutes. This track was actually born from the challenge. You may notice that this is the same beat, right, from the challenge that we did the last time. And a lot of the sounds are the same. I just imported my part of the track into a new project and started writing over it. And this is what came out. This is going to be, I'm on the fence on this track, because it's clearly made in one day, right? Which is what it is. I mean, I worked on it over the last week, but it's in essence just something that I made in a day and that I then polished up. Because I added the vocals and not much more from what I did in the challenge, I think, if I remember correctly. So for me, this is the kind of track that I would just push out and not worry about. Kind of like how I used to do it in the old days. Like this would be my master. I'm going to finish, first of all, I did make a change to it where the vocal starts a little bit in. So this is already going to be quieter. I do look at my waveforms like this because it's a good indication of the overall quality of the work that you put out, right? You can see a lot about the waveform that isn't just, okay, what is the volume, right? Like I can see that I've taken care of the fills properly, that all of the fills are a little bit lower, but there's still interesting stuff going on in here. I can see that there's a lot less happening in here, for example, than in here. Maybe that's not a good example. Where is it? This one. This is where the acid line comes in, I think. Yeah, so I can see that this is much higher energy than this because you can see that in the waveform. Will I add some more elements to it? No. No. I'm fixing up the vocal. And as I said, I am moving the vocal away from the first 16 bars. But other than that, I don't have any plans to actually like change a lot about this. And the reason for that is I kind of just need a release. My distributor that I'm working with now, and I'm maybe on the fence of changing distributors completely because of this. It takes them well over a month to get anything out, right? So I need to have this track finished with all of its artwork finished for it to be available middle of July, right now. So if I wanted to release this right now, it would become available not middle of July, the end of, or the beginning of July. Give or take a week, right? Because it takes them a month. It takes me a couple of days to get all of the artwork and stuff. It takes me a couple of days after, or just more to get everything in the program, in the distributor like program and stuff. So I want a couple of tracks that I can just push out and push out quickly. So for that, I would actually need to do. Yeah, no, I'm happy with the track. It's not like I'm not happy with this. This is just the kind of track that I would consider to be one of those push-out tracks just to get some hype, right? Which I talked about before when we talked about what is the best like release plan if you want like an actual career. Is to release singles as much as possible and to just continuously release stuff. Keep people talking, keep people excited to come back to your page and see, okay, is there anything new here, right? because that's what you want at the end of the day. Is you want people to get excited for the music that you're about to release, and the way that you do that is by having continuously new music coming out, so that people have a reason to go to your page. So what I would need to do is I would need to find a new distributor, which is very annoying to do because it means that basically I'm going to have like 2 income sources from the same income source, right? Because it's going to be Spotify, but half of the tracks are being pushed by one distributor and the other half are going to be pushed by another. I don't know if that gets me in any trouble or anything. Like, am I locked into the distributor that I started with? I don't think I am. I don't think that I signed a contract with them that I'm like exclusive to them, right? Who's your biggest reference when you're producing or started producing, Professor? Well, when I first got into production, I produced for probably 7 years before I knew what Psytrance was. So I've been producing for a decade, a little over a decade now, 10.5 years to be exact. And at the beginning, I was just like doing house, and at the real beginning, like the first 3 years was nothing, right? Then I got into big room, then I got into dubstep, I got into doing trap, I did some drum and bass for a couple of months. I've been like everywhere. And when I got into Psytrance, the very first Psytrance that I really heard was the stuff that they call minimal Goa here in Italy. And I don't know if that term is used anywhere else, but it's artists like Gonzi, which come to mind. This dude. Yeah, it is written as Psytrance, but it's so minimal and it takes so many influences from techno that it's not really the kind of Psytrance that we know. From here, I got into Asterix, which is the first like real Psytrance that I got into, and from there you can basically see my evolution of the music that I liked throughout this playlist here. So this is chronologically when I started adding stuff. The first few are all added on the same date, right? So this is it's quite new actually, this playlist. All of this was added on the date that I added them. All of these I've kind of heard of them and listened to those tracks for quite a while at this point. But from that point on, you can actually see the progression of the music that I like throughout the rest of the playlist. When did I add stuff? When did I start to like things? And obviously here down below we have the latest stuff. When I'm actually producing now, I don't use any reference. I don't use a reference directly in the project, but I listen to a lot of music while I'm working on the production, obviously. Right, so I listen to a lot of music in general, I should say. Let's go back to the flanger. Oh. Isn't it prog trance? It is progressive psytrance, right? In the sense that it's like new and stuff. It's not the kind of progressive. So I usually associate progressive psytrance with Timmy Trumpet, right? It's the very over the top, almost basically like EDM kind of psytrance. It's basically EDM, but with a rolling bass line on it. The stuff that Gonzi does is much more influenced, I feel like, by techno and stuff like that. It's not, first of all, it's not trying to be so commercial. And second of all, it's very minimal in the elements that it uses. So the name minimal, I don't know why people call it like Goa here in Italy. I think they mistakenly assume that that's like what it's actually called when it's not. Obviously, Goa is a type of music that's very, very old. It's the 70s, and it's in India. And it's, for those that don't know, it's where psytrance actually comes from. It comes from originally the Goa area, and that's where the original kind of, before psytrance became psytrance, that's what psytrance was. So they still call it Goa for some reason, but it's not actually that, right? Because, as I said, it's a different genre. But it should go by the name like minimal psytrance, something like that. Now I'm a reference to you. Nice. For production, I don't like to use references because I fear that I'm going to sound like the reference, which is not the kind of thing that I'm aiming for when I'm producing on my own. I like to do it when mixing, because obviously it allows you to take the tonality of a sound that you like and apply that to your track. But when producing, I find it really hard to work with a reference track and actually make something that's uniquely my sound, I would say. I think this can be a bit more open. And get more like that kind of sound. Hello, Alex. Welcome to the stream. Hope you don't mind the boring things that I'm doing. Today's mainly about the chit chat. I don't expect a lot of people to get excited about me making samples. I expect them to get excited about the second part of the title. Just a little bit of chatting right here. Okay, I like this, but it needs one more like spike to it, I guess. Let's hear. I guess all of these have like a resonance to them, but that's okay. I know they all sound filtered, right? In a way. They don't sound exactly like what's the famous one? This one. Now these are just the same samples. Am I done? Basically the same sample, yeah. It nulls almost completely, except for the beginning and the end. But they are definitely like realistic hats, right? Like you can hear that this is an actual hat sound, and mine are definitely like synthesized. I don't know. Do I want to do more that sound less like this? I would need to check. so don't like to copy and paste. Yeah, as long as you can prevent yourself from just copying and pasting stuff, then you should be good. But that's really hard, at least for me to do. So I don't like it. Everybody has their own techniques. At the end of the day, that's how it is. Let's do claps. Clap sound, you go like this, and then you want to create some spikes beginning here. And then your spike should probably start here at the start somewhere, and then you have the noise to it. I think maybe if we what was I going to say? If we change the fade on this would be good. Okay, that's not what I expected actually, in terms of the waveform, but I guess we can deal with that. I think I want this to be happier. But actually not with the whole fade, probably, because it has like the reverb tail on it, which we want to keep. I guess I just want to, I can do that here. Lower this volume just a tad, like this maybe. Yeah, so you get a little bit of extra impact. I do actually want to get myself a drink. I'll quickly get a drink later, and as I said, I won't be streaming for a long time anymore because I have stuff to do later. Reactor clap 1, there we are. Okay, now we need to design another one. I think I'm just going to slightly EQ this one because I do have an idea. Like that, and then I want this to have very little in terms of its dynamics, right? Something like this. Somehow I think an asset lead suits your personality. You wouldn't say, would you? I'm probably going to make more open hats. Maybe not all with them the same kind of tone track that we're using here. And then I'll like scatter them. So if I get like 30 open hats, I can use 17, which are this tonal thing. And then 17, I use a different method to make them. I'll just set up like a whole new chain or something like that. And then I'll randomize between them. In that it's not all just the tonal ones with this technique, which have this setup. It's going to be like different types mixed together, right? Probably going to do the same for the claps. Just at some point I'll try a different technique. For some, I want to probably like this, so that I remove like the reverb tail from it. I don't know if I want all of them to have like the same reverb tail as well. There needs to be a little bit of unique parts to all of it, I guess. I guess the next one that we can do is going to be very sharp, no reverb. Something like that, yeah. This is a very dynamic clap here. If you have some time, can you show me how you easily make some drum fills? Well, yeah, at some point I need to do my own drum fills here. I don't have the drums yet for that. So obviously the fills are going to come from the one-shots as well as the like loops. What I can say about fills in specific is that one, people forget about the silence that a fill should probably have. In that what they'll do is they will fill it up completely with stuff, right? So for example, kick fills, the way that people do kick fills most of the time is that, do I have a track of mine here? Yeah, the track that we looked at before. This is not the track that we looked at before. Still, it's a good example. What people tend to do is they'll see, oh, here I have space. I can use this space up for a kick fill. I can fill this up with kicks, right? And what they'll do is they'll write section to section. Hello, Ableton. Thank you. They'll write section to section, this next section, this next section. And then they'll just add kick fills in between. And they won't actually leave any space for the fill to take effect, right? So their kick fills will start here, and then they will go on up until here, whatever length their fill section is. And maybe your sections are a lot shorter. This is 2 bars, so that's a very long length. What people tend to do is they tend to be shorter, usually like half a bar, sometimes even 1 beat. You cannot really establish a fill in a beat, right? and it's just too short of time. I always go for either 1 bar for long fill. Half a bar is like my minimum. I sometimes do like a kick roll, but that's not really a fill. And then the longest fills are 2 bars of mine. I have problems with fills with bongos, hats, and so on. Kick fills are easy. Well, but I do want to give you a bunch of theory, because it's the same thing. The kick fill and the other drum fills is the same thing in terms of like theory. So you want to leave enough space for the fill to actually begin, right? You can listen here. We go out of the drop into the fill. Even if this is a synth fill, probably. Right, there's a little pause here, even though the melody kind of continues, and there's some other stuff that I need to fix. The real fill kind of comes in here. Pum, 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 and then it goes into the next segment. For drum fills, that can also be the case. If you have a rhythm in mind, if you have an idea for the rhythm that you want to use, just take out a little short bit of that rhythm, place it in the place where you have space, and then make sure that there's some space before it. That's the power of a fill. The fill is not there to fill up the whole thing. It's there to indicate to the listener, hey, hang on, we're going to go into a new section. We're going to do something new, because there's obviously a pause here to prepare you for that. So when it comes to like drum fills, like you're specifically asking, find the rhythm from your track, fill it up with the drums, just lining up the drums with the rhythm, and then if a drum hit doesn't fit, replace it with a new drum until you get a drum hit that does fit. Right? And there you just have to, like any other time that you're using samples, you have to know like your sample packs and what kind of sounds you're going to get out of them, and which sample packs work well together. But there's nothing like fill specific that I could give you in terms of like tips like that. Apart from obviously the things that I said before about leaving the space and just working with a rhythm that's already consistent in your track. Why is this so like double sounding? Guess that's why. I cannot play other people's music, no. Unless we're absolutely 100% sure that it's not copyrighted. That I am 100% sure that it's not copyrighted. I know for a fact that this stream is going to get striked anyway, but I would like to prevent it as much as possible. I have to go, my psychedelic friend. See you. Are we having feedback on Sunday? Unfortunately, this Sunday I'm not here. Feedback will recommence again next Sunday. This Sunday I'm going back home to celebrate my birthday with my parents. I've worked my ass off over the last week trying to keep the content flowing so that you guys don't notice that I'm going to be away, but for the live stream I can't do anything else because it has to be done live. Right, so I cannot pre-record a live session. So this Sunday there won't be a live session for that reason. It's also the reason why I'm streaming now a little bit, actually. I didn't really feel like streaming today, but I was like, if I'm not going to be doing something Sunday, at least during the week I need to give them at least one stream, right? But yeah, this Saturday I'm going to go back home, and then over the beginning of the next week I'm traveling back. Maybe slowly with my father, stay somewhere some night, something like that. But yeah, just home for my birthday and then going back. What time is it now? I do have a call in half an hour. I think it's better that I quit streaming for today, actually. I know it's been only 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's shorter than I normally want. Normally I do aim for at least 3 hours, but I have another call in like 30 minutes. So I wasn't going to get the 3 hours either, and I would love some time to cool off a little bit and prepare. I don't think you guys can see it, but I'm sweating all over my back, and my shirt is actually like stained from sweat, because it's, I don't know if it's like a heat wave or something, but it's been just, we've had, last week, we've had a whole week of rain, like a week continuously, and since then it's been a week of non-stop sun and warmth, and therefore it's very humid, right? Which means that now, I know it's like almost summer, but it feels like the middle of summer kind of Italy. And you know, the part of Italy where I live, Cremona, the river Po comes very near to it, so it's the hottest part of Italy. What's on health of success for you? Thank you for always helping. Thank you guys. But yeah, so I do want to change shirts before I get on that call, so I am going to wrap it up here today. Sorry, Justin. I think this happened a few times now, but you just came in while I'm ending the stream for today. I do see Netherlands. No, I'm not going back to the Netherlands. So my parents, they live about 6 hours south of me by car. So they live like in the middle of Italy, right? And I live in the north. So I'm just going home back to my parents, to the middle of Italy, so that I can stay there for a couple of days. It really is a couple of days, because my birthday is Sunday, this Sunday, and then I'm going there Saturday afternoon, and then like Monday evening, probably going back. New camera looking great? Well, that's not possible. This is the old camera. Right? Yeah, this is the old webcam. The new camera is this. Hang on a second. New camera, I need to do the firmware update before I can start streaming on it. The firmware hack, actually. I can just show it like temporarily. This is the new camera. This is the actual good looking camera. And if I do my stream camera, it's this one again. So you can see a quality difference, and that was also visible in the videos. I now only use it for videos. I need to do a firmware hack if I want to use it for more than 30 minutes at a time. And then you can, with that firmware hack, you can go up to 6 hours. Yes, so it is in the new videos, the camera. Oh, the stream is also getting popular now. It's very unfortunate, but I do have to go, guys. I'm sorry. As I said, I want to go a little bit longer, but for today it's just not gonna happen. It's not the camera that's looking good. I know it's me. This camera, if I pointed it at the wall at the other side, nobody would watch. Of course, right? Be honest. If I had started up stream today and it was just a camera looking at the blank wall, there wouldn't be 12 people here now. So it's me. It's because the camera is pointed at me, it has to be about me. Just give me this. I need this so bad. No, guys, no, don't worry. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. Maybe if there would be 100 people. Someday, if we continue on long enough, someday there will be 100 people admiring my amazing looks. Either way, thank you guys for hanging out. I might be able to do another stream tomorrow, but I am not going to guarantee anything. If I am going to do another stream tomorrow, it's probably going to be longer than today. Yes. In half an hour I have a call, and my whole back is wet from the sweat from today, sitting here in the chair for a couple of hours. So I'm going to freshen up a little bit, hop on that call, and then I'm finished for today, and then I can relax. So yeah, that's my plans, and I have to go. Thank you guys. I know I'm stalling. I'm just not good at editing streams. I'm not good in outros. Either way, thank you for stopping by, and hope you guys enjoyed this little short stream.